Oh, and then yeah, yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you.
You told me face to face that you thought Daniels was that fun secret.
Yeah, my dad's on your bias.
I am absolutely biased. You got some bias.
Exactly, exactly. He said I am biased, but he said we're also biased. That's true. Once the season starts, you can say that he is not a top five quarterback. But I think from the time that the Super Bowl was till the third game,
There's some great takes on Anthony Richardson just when I Google it.
Really?
And shows you like the popular tweets. There's a Michael Pittman quote, and then Chase Daniel.
Oh, get them ready for the pod.
I have them.
I'm wondering what Pittman says. That'll be interesting. All right. Do you think we're good to get started?
Yep.
All right. Let's get started in 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to the Wise Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Brady Fitzgerald, joined as always by my co-host, Chris Hagan.
How you guys doing?
I'm excited. I'm pumped. One of our favorite podcasts of the off season. We are doing the QB tiers. And before we do that, we have some news on some QBs. The starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts will be Daniel Jones and not the third overall pick, Anthony Richardson. Chris, I don't know how you feel about it. I boil it down to it was a mistake. It was a mistake drafting him at 3 in that draft. They took a gamble. And then instead of doubling down on the gamble, they're just doing another bad bet. And I get that the coach wants to keep his job. He thinks that Daniel Jones is a safer quarterback to throw out there. But when you have this guy, he's played 14 games in the NFL. He played like, I don't know, like 13 in Florida. He completed less than 50% of his passes in Florida. So you knew he had to come in getting some reps. He had all the athletic ability in the world. He had all the arm strength in the world. And you just kind of give up on him. He's 23 years old. I hate wasted talent that gets drafted really high and then the coach doesn't, or the team doesn't tell them in the correct situations. They don't put like all of Indianapolis should have put their chips on Anthony Richardson here. That's what I'm thinking. And it's a shame that he has to. I don't think he'll probably be a backup somewhere. Hopefully he can get in the right situation with a team that believes in him. But 15 games in the NFL. How do you watch him play 15 games in the NFL, get hurt in half of them? Yes, he looked bad. Yes, he had some struggles, and then just completely give up on the guy at the age of 23 for a guy that we've known and seen in the playoffs. We've seen him in the regular season, and we know what his ceiling is. We know where he can take a team, and now you just give up on Anthony Richardson like that.
Yeah, I mean the whole situation just kind of sucks for everybody involved. And I think there's plenty of parties to blame, but as far as starting Daniel Jones over him right now, like we're not in camp. We're not seeing what's going on there. And as the head coach of the Colts, like your Steichen's not in a place where they just brought him in and they're committing to a rebuild and he has that support from ownership. Like they made this move on Richardson because they thought they could plug him in right away, pretty much, and he would be a dynamic quarterback for them. Um, So at no point was the roster in a spot where they were really trying to rebuild. Like they thought that this was the missing piece for them. Um, so when you're not in the process of rebuilding, you can't, as a head coach, like you can't send a guy out there who you think gives you a worse chance to win football games. And that's what it comes down to. Like he must just not have shown them enough to beat out Daniel Jones, which is like I think a pretty strong indictment on where he's at as an NFL quarterback right now. Um, and I don't know where you go from here because I feel like we probably could have and maybe should have seen this coming.
Mhm.
That it's not just based on the play from last season. I mean, the play last year was pretty horrible. Um, outside of like the few flashes. So I mean, he's just a guy that like doesn't have experience playing a lot of football.
Yep.
And they drafted him on the athletic ability alone and did not put him in a position to succeed right away and then he gets hurt. Um so like who knows? Obviously hindsight's 2020, but like maybe if you give him that rookie year to just sit on the sidelines and develop more, um like maybe things go a little bit differently. But again, it's revisionist history. We don't really know what would have happened. Um yeah, like I guess my point is I don't fault the coaching staff necessarily because if you put yourselves in their shoes, like not only are they trying to just keep their job, but like they're also trying their job is to win football games. And like
Mhm.
regardless of where they're at job stability wise, they're gonna play the guy who thinks gives them the best chance to win football games. Like it almost reminds me of when Jay Gruden decided to start Kirk Cousins over RG3 like going in the beginning of the season, and everybody freaked out and was like, "Seriously, we're doing this with Kirk?" And you think about what the last 2 years had looked like with RG3, and Cousins hadn't been a world beater by any stretch, but he was an NFL quarterback who could run their offense. Like that's kind of where we're at with Dan Jones. Like we know what he is, and it's not pretty, but he's also like I don't want to call or say that Anthony Richardson isn't smart, but like Daniel Jones has run an NFL offense for many years now. Like you're not worried about that kind of stuff. Um, he's just more of like a professional quarterback than Richardson is right now. So I think
Yeah.
it sucks for Richardson because he was never put in that position where he really could get all those reps in, and it does suck for the coaching staff too, where like we've now wasted 3 years with this guy and haven't gotten anything out of him. Not that they're not at least partially to blame for that, but it's a unfortunate situation for everybody.
I'd agree with that, and I think to your point, they kind of drafted him like he was gonna save them from mediocrity in the quarterback position, and that just wasn't I don't think that's how anyone saw him going into the draft. Nobody saw him as a a ready guy, someone who could run an NFL offense automatically, and it just seems like he he had all the physical tools and didn't have, as I said earlier, the belief behind him, the support behind him, and the injury luck behind him to continue being a starting NFL quarterback. I just think, as and you said, they want to win football games. I understand that. They see the guy in the mini camp. I get that. Um, and maybe he's terrible in the mini camp. Like maybe he can't hit anyone. Maybe he can't run the drills correctly. But when you have a guy out there like Anthony Richardson, you can go to Daniel Jones at any time. Like he could get injured. Like we
Mhm.
saw him get injured week 1 of the preseason. Like we can see, like he could go. I think it's just such an easier switch to go from Anthony Richardson to Daniel Jones than Daniel Jones to Anthony Richardson. And maybe you may like maybe they win 7 games. Maybe in the last 3 weeks like they're fighting for the division somehow or a wild card spot somehow. But I mean, and they have a solid defense on that roster. They have solid weapons around Daniel Jones now. But I don't know. You already bet on this upside just to get rid of the bet after 2 years and seeing 15 games from him, not even a full NFL season. Um, I just think is a shame. Shame as one of the guys that I wanted Anthony Richardson to be good. I liked how he played and how people were comparing him, his arm, his athleticism, all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, and you're right. Daniel Jones is the safer bet, but it's a bet where we know there's a cap to it. We know there's a ceiling to it. And I don't they might be kicking themselves if it's 3rd and 7 and Daniel Jones throws a 3-yard pass to the slot wide receiver or the tight end. And everyone's going to be thinking, I think, every time they end up they one of their drives ends up that way. Could have Anthony Richardson, thrown a bomb? Could he have gotten out of the pocket and scrambled for the first down? Like we just saw Jaden Daniels in this electric running offense. We've seen Lamar Jackson in the past. Um, you know, he should have won the MVP last year. This weapon of dual threat quarterbacks is such a commodity here in the NFL. Just not to give that one more shot seems like a mistake to me. But to your point earlier, we're not there at training camp. We're not seeing how he runs the drills. We've seen how he ran the offense before, and it didn't look pretty. And he made a lot of mistakes. But I don't know. I guess I have I have more hope for younger QBs than I guess the average NFL coach. And my job's not on the line, so that's another indicator there.
Yeah, I think um as far as like the mobile quarterbacks thing, it really doesn't help you if your quarterback can run if they can't throw the ball down the field a little bit. It's
Mhm.
like, I mean, think about what the Lamar Jackson offense looked like his rookie year, and they get into that playoff game against the Chargers, and it's like they cannot move the ball because he's not a threat to throw the football down the field. Or like even what Justin Fields has done the last couple years now, where like Justin Fields is just as mobile. Well, he's not as shifty as a Lamar, but he's just as mobile. Like he can move in the pocket and he can pick up first downs with his legs. But when you can't throw the football down the field, then it's not really much of an asset for you. And Richardson is a guy where like he cannot complete the simplest of passes. Like he can throw some bombs down the field, but like his legs are not much of an asset when he can't throw a 6 yard out. Um, so I would also say to play devil's advocate on like you can't go from, or it would be easier to go from Richardson to Jones. I almost think of this as a potential Andy Dalton, Bryce Young situation where we get 6, 7 weeks into the season, the Colts are 2-5. Daniel Jones has a nagging injury or whatever, or even doesn't have an injury. He's just looked bad. They can go to Richardson for a spark. Then there's way less pressure on him because it's just playing on a team that's not winning football games. Like at that point, you just go out and play football,
Mhm.
use that athletic ability. You don't have that pressure of coming in as the starter. So it honestly might be better for him career wise because it also gives him a little bit more time to take it in. Because if he gets benched, like if he comes in the starter, gets benched halfway through the year, then it's really over.
Yeah.
Like then there's no going. So I think you're almost buying him a little bit more time this way. Where like he's still there. There's still the thought that he might be your starting quarterback at one point this season. Where if he was the starter and it doesn't work, like then it's toast.
I like the optimism. I like the optimism there.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. Like, I don't think that's how it's going to go down. I do think he'll play. I'm pretty confident in that. Whether that's a benching or a Daniel Jones injury, I'm 85% sure that he will start at least a game this year. Um, and we'll see. Like maybe he
Steichen did
maybe he does
say
look all good.
it was a weird quote. He did say this is a long-term starting. We want Daniel Jones to start the whole season. So,
Mhm.
but as you said, I mean, we've seen Daniel Jones multiple times. We've seen him get benched by, Tommy DeVito. So, um, there's definitely a reality where he either gets hurt or something happens. Like, QBs go down all the time. There's definitely a reality where we could see Richardson again. And I like that optimism with it. I do think if he gets traded, um, I saw a thing about him going to Sean McVay. Sean McVay fixes him, and then the
Yep,
Rams
that
are
was
dominant forever.
McVay rehab.
Um, that would be awesome. I do want him to see. I like by the end of the year, whether he starts a game or not, I would like to see him in a different opportunity with a different coach. Maybe one of these QB whisperers that we've talked about, and the NFL world has talked about. So just like even this Daniel Jones treatment, he spent like 2 months with the Vikings, and now he's the starting quarterback again for an NFL team. So get him in a system like that. Get him with Sean McVay. Get him with Kevin O'Connor. Um, just somewhere where he will eventually we can learn how to be a quarterback. He can learn how to be an NFL quarterback and put those talents to use because he is a talented player. Um, is he just the third overall pick, Joe Milton, at this point?
Pretty much.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he will not be on our QB rankings, but we are going to dive right into them right now. Chris, before we start, how many tiers do you have?
I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 11.
Okay, I have 12. I think I know what our difference is, which is okay.
Already? You know what our difference is?
Yeah, yeah. Um, did you name your tiers?
I did name my tiers.
Okay, perfect. Tier number one, we'll just jump right into it. We start from the top to the bottom. I gotta tease it for the listeners. The ass category is the biggest it's ever been, and I can't wait to get down to it. Um, so and it's funny, we have a couple well, actually just one quarterback that has made it, two quarterbacks that have made it well out of the ass category. So congrats to them.
I remember he was in there last year.
I remember who was in there.
I have to go back.
Yeah,
I know one who was in there who's not in the league anymore.
yes. I forget who you referring to.
Derek Carr.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Derek Carr. He was the captain. He was the
He was
captain of
the
the ass
ass.
category. Yeah, he was.
Yes.
Yep, he was the ass man. Um, so we're gonna get started here with the first tier. Actually, great question, Matt. Before we start, are these fantasy tiers or real life tiers? Real life play tiers. Fantasy tiers would look a little different, and we can highlight some of those
New for
if we need to.
fantasy intel.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's itching to see what our QB rankings are, I guess, for fantasy. Um, so we're gonna get started. The number one category, I just named it the best of the bunch, and it is Mahomes, Lamar, Allen.
I have the exact same tier. I called it elite, but I think a more fitting name is MVPs
Yeah,
because these
yeah,
guys are the past 5 years. These are all the MVPs.
I believe so. Rodgers sneak in there
There's not. Yeah, I think Rodgers probably does have one in there.
because he had those
Um,
back to back. I think it was 20 and 21.
yep. Yeah. But yes, I mean these are the guys like Mahomes has compensated for his poor stats relative to those two with the Super Bowls.
Yep.
Obviously Lamar has 2 MVPs now. Josh just won one last year. So like these are the guys, the clear cut top 3, I think. There's an argument for 4, but I think we had number 4 in this category last year. At least I did.
I wanna
But
I
jot
wanna
me down.
defend Patrick Mahomes real quick. Um, his receiving core the past 2 years have been in shambles, completely new. Nothing that anyone would say is a top tier receiving core. And no matter what, if it's 2 minutes left in the game and you're down by 7, I want Patrick Mahomes. I don't want Josh Allen. I don't want Lamar Jackson. And I'm sorry, I don't want anyone else on this list, really. And that's why he's up there. Like he has that Brady factor right now where you just assume he's gonna come back I mean, the Eagles were up by 30 in the Super Bowl, and there was people betting on him to come back in the second half. And you know, some of that gets overplayed, some of that gets out of hand at times, but he's lost one Super Bowl in the past 3 years, and he made it to the Super Bowl in the past 3 years. So it's it's really not up for debate, I think. And I think like if you're doing the rankings within the tier, I had Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, and
Yep.
Lamar had an amazing regular season last year. He had the same problems that we talked about in the preview for the AFC and NFC North. Go check that out. Um, with the same problems
Plug.
that we discussed in that. Yeah, good plug. We got to make sure we don't ever do that. We got to. So yeah. Um, so yeah, best of the bunch, elite, MVPs, whatever you want to call it. Those are the top tier guys. And um, number two, and it's funny, the top tier guys I think are pretty much up there. Like I don't think there's too much debate. Um, I'm sure some people would throw a fourth in there, which we'll get to in a second. But um, number two is, I have a star next to one of the players because he might have to he might have to get moved down, and I'm open for discussion with it. But and I might have to move one of these guys up and delete a tier because I have three tiers right now of just one player. Sorry, a lot of preview here. I'm
Let's hear some names.
edging the fans. Yeah. Um, it's I know you can win a Super Bowl, and it's Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford. And
Okay.
Matthew Stafford that's the one who I have the star next to. Is Matthew Stafford because he didn't have a great season last year. He had 20 touchdowns, 8 picks, almost 4,000 yards. Threw it 500 times, played 16 games. But he can like in 2021. I mean, and that's 4 years ago at this point. Um, you know, 41 touchdowns, 17 picks, Super Bowl win, Super Bowl champion. Beat Joe Burrow. It was funny enough in this tier as well.
I was gonna say it's ironic that he has the asterisk when
Yes,
he beat him in the Super Bowl.
yes. Um, and I don't really like. I also don't really like this tier name. I think that can be tweaked. I'm wondering what you have it with. Um, there's another category that I think we can move Stafford to, but I wouldn't. I do think when he's healthy with the receivers that he has, with the play that he is just a baller. He's always been, and I think that you know you can win a Super Bowl with him. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I love Stafford, and I think you can, like, not to Mahomes' degree, but you can use that same argument where, like, when you're comparing some of these guys that are probably at Stafford's talent level, if not better, you're not taking many of them over him when you're down a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that plays to Stafford's advantage, even now that he's getting up there in age, and like he might only have a year left. He might be done after this
He
year.
might be
I don't
dead.
really know.
Did you see that on Twitter? He might be dead. They might have cloned
Yeah,
Matthew Stafford.
I have him a bit lower on mine just because I don't know. Like, it does feel like we're trending a little bit downwards there, and I don't know if we can bank on him as much as we have in the past. But like, even if he doesn't have a good regular season, and like, I don't want to see the Rams in the playoffs.
No, no, they almost beat the Eagles. They were the closest team in the playoffs to beat the Eagles. And I think that has to factor. I think that factors personally for me in some of these. Um, and I think that matters a lot when it comes to like nobody wants to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs. Um, and that type of like people will say that's like superficial, that's not backed up by anything, and and then they watch the game and there's a 2 minute drive and they're down by 7 and they score a touchdown and it's like, well, there's the stat right there. There's the points that we're looking for on the
Yeah.
stat sheet right there.
I trust my gut more than anything else, I think.
hmm
Like, when making this list, I didn't look at a single number.
No, I didn't. I with comparing them in the tiers and how I grouped some of the guys together. I did look at some numbers, but especially for the top 7, it was all pretty much good. I don't think there's needs to be too much Joe Burrow discussion I know some people will say it's because of the weapons. Um, I think he's that guy, and I think that um, there's a lot of throws that you could say is because of Jamar Chase or because of T. Higgins, but another quarterback just isn't placing it where it needs to go or isn't making the right decisions where it needs to go. He's never had a good offensive line. He's never had a good defense. He's already dragged this team to a Super Bowl once. And if they made the playoffs last year, the Bills would be shitting their pants and probably actually the Ravens really screwed them because of the defense, but the Bills were shaking in their boots, and I'm sure Mahomes was as well at that point. Um, for seeing Joe Burrow again in the playoffs. So I don't think there's too much discussion. I think that's the fourth person that we could have in the upper tier if we wanted to. I did want to make that separation, but Chris, I'm holding the mic too much. What's your tier?
So my second tier is two guys, and conveniently enough, they have something in common. So this is the LSU Heisman winners tier. That's Joe Burrow and Jane Daniels. Um,
Nice.
and like Burrow, I think like Burrow is deliberately ahead of Daniels here because of what we've already seen on the football field, and he's gone to a Super Bowl and he's put up this disgusting passing numbers. Um, but and obviously I'm biased here. But if you ask me today, like, would I trade Jaden for Burrow? I don't think that I would.
I do.
I think there's too much upside. I think like as a pure passer, I don't think he's not where Burrow is, but obviously as a runner, he's much, much, much better than Joe Burrow is. And he's a threat to get every single third down or to convert every single third down and fourth down on his legs. Um, I think he's incredibly smart. He doesn't turn the ball over, and like the arm is incredible.
Mhm.
It was his knock like coming out of college is we don't know what that arm's going to look like in an NFL offense. I think all those questions were answered by week 4 last year. And obviously, like we kind of did this with Stroud last year, where we had him up higher than we probably should have after a year of experience. So I do get that, like if that's the argument, but if we're just looking at last season and assuming that there's no major step back, like if he has the same exact season as he did last year, doesn't take a step forward at all, then I think this is still a fair ranking.
I had so he was one of my three that has their own category, and I just I just categorized it, and it's directly after this one, so it works out as Jesus Daniels with a question mark. Because it's all the upside in the world. It's all the flash, all the playmaking ability that you could want for a Commanders fan, for an NFL fan that just likes to watch good quarterback play. As you said, we were worried about his arm, and his arm's fantastic. He can place the ball very well. And There, and I think that once Terry gets into practice, they will be working on that deep ball connection even more. And he didn't have a good team like that team that we talked about last year. You were not expecting what 12, 13 wins, and
14 if you count the playoff games.
yeah, and we were expecting you were happy with like 7 or happy with 9.
Mhm.
And we went in there, especially into the draft. It was like, oh, this guy's older. You know, what does this mean? Does this mean he's almost a finished product? It meant that he was ready for an NFL quarterback job. And
Yep.
kind of opposite to what where Anthony Richardson, I think, is 2 years younger than Jaden Daniels. And he seemed like he did it. He was already there when he was in the NFL. It seemed like he'd been playing for multiple years. And for that rookie season to happen, and to your point as well, it happened with Stroud a little bit, but Stroud was not dynamic like Jane Daniels is. He didn't have the legs like Jane Daniel does. And he doesn't turn the ball over. He's a fourth down weapon where you guys were like 90 something percent in fourth downs, and that won't happen again this year. But if it's upwards of 60, if it's upwards of 70, it's that's an insane weapon to have on the football field.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's borderline a cheat code when you have a
Yes.
4th and 1. It feels like shocking when they don't convert on one of those plays. And a lot of the time, it was they dialed up a tricky play that they didn't need.
Mhm. And yeah, and if you just have you put Jaden Daniels on a rollout in a down and distance that's short, it's like the Tyreek Hill and Mahomes back in the day where Mahomes could have ran it for the first down, or you just dump it off to Tyreek Hill, who's gonna be open on the drag. And you have that same threat with Jaden Daniels, and you don't even need the super fast wide receiver. You just have to have a guy that can create space 2 yards down the field. And Jaden Daniels is much faster than what Mahomes was. And that just is like that's your Tyreek Hill is that quarterback. It's it's pretty nuts. Um, I was super impressed last year. He's such a likable quarterback as well, and, I hope when we're doing this next year, he's in the same spot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yes, for
Actually,
sure.
I hope he's a tier up. But I'll gladly take this spot as well. I think the other thing that it fits him in that tier with Burrow is like that cool demeanor of like it's a big 3rd down and he's like laughing before the play call.
Mhm,
And he just like he never gets too high, never gets too low.
mhm.
Like up to the sidelines, like, yeah, whatever. Regardless of whether or not he just threw an 80-yard touchdown or threw a pick six, it's the same face. Like him and
I got
Burrow, I don't know what they're doing to him down there. Like they getting lobotomized or something, where they just like
they got
they're
emotion.
just not. Yeah, they just don't show human emotion. But yeah, they are weirdly similar in that way.
And I think we both have tier alone for the next guy, and I think that he has the same traits that we just talked about with the
Mhm.
calm, cool, and collectiveness, the, but that's kind of where the comparisons draw, and I rank this tier as you just won the Super Bowl, but I don't really know what to do with your stats, and it's Jalen Hurts. He he does exactly what he needs to do to win football games, and he also has the most stacked roster in the NFL. So I don't really know where to put him. Like, I don't think a lot of people know where to put him. I think he's clearly within the top 10. I have him here at 7 if we don't move down Stafford later. And I think that I think he does exactly what he needs to do, and I think that's not a negative. I don't think there's any like you can nitpick his stats, of course. Like he only had 18 touchdowns last year, and they didn't ask him to throw a lot. They didn't ask him to do a lot. And apparently they want to throw a little bit more this year. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't know, when they were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs 2 years ago, and it was a lot of Jalen Hurts making the plays. It didn't end up the same way of this year when it wasn't a lot of Jalen Hurts making the plays. And you can run it's again, no negative about you can just run an offense perfectly and win the Super Bowl. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, I mean he does everything that they need him to do, and he does it really well.
Hmm.
Like he didn't turn the ball over last year. He put the ball in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith's hands when he needed to. Like he delivered in all the big moments. Um, but it's tough when the team is that good. Like this is the Brock Purdy conversation that we had, when he took the Niners to the Super Bowl was like, well, I mean, who wouldn't go to the Super Bowl with this Niners team? And I think Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy. He's definitely more dynamic. I trust him more to not make like the game losing mistake. Um, and he deserves all the flowers in the world for winning that Super Bowl. But I mean, like the whole point of off-season football talk is to play the hypothetical game, right?
Hmm.
Like if we took Jalen Hurts and I'm just looking at my list right here, like if we put him on the Packers, what does he look like? Or if we put him on the Cardinals, what does he look like? And it's hard to say
Mhm.
because he's a very good runner, and the passing has gotten significantly better since he came into the league. But he's definitely not. He's not a pure pocket passer. He's not a guy that you like trust to make a big throw in a big spot necessarily. Um, so I don't know. I think where we have him is fair. I named my tier. He won a Super Bowl, but Dak may have also won with that team.
I think the guys in the next tier could have won with that team. I think there's some guys later on, like later down, that we could have swapped in. And I think we talked about this when we talked about the AFC and NFC East. Check out that pod as well. That you can swap out a couple quarterbacks and see maybe their stats are better. Maybe there's like, especially with the guys above them, I don't see how Joe Burrow on that team isn't they're not winning the Super Bowl the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, and the I don't know. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think, as you said, if you put him on the Cardinals, you put him on the Falcons, you put him on like the Jets, like what are these teams doing with him?
Thought that was not fair. I don't think Mahomes is good on the Jets.
Okay, that I think Mahomes makes the Jets look a lot better.
Yes, definitely.
I don't think
Well,
Jalen
I
Hurts.
guess it depends on if we're talking right now or if we're talking about like when they entered the league.
Yes, okay, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
guess another like something that you could say in Jalen Hurts' defense is that he came into kind of a weird situation where they had Wentz um, already there, and then traded him. I think he came in before Sirianni.
Hmm.
We didn't start with the same coach, and he's been through 3 offensive coordinators. So we always do talk about how much the situation matters, where his situation hasn't been the most stable. Um, and I guess the counter of that is, well, he has the best offensive line in football, and AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley, which I think covers any gaps in scheme.
And I do think it matters that they weren't able to get over the hump without Saquon Barkley. And they just got him last year and they won the Super Bowl with ease. And I mean, that just adds a whole nother level to their offense where it takes so much pressure um off of Jalen Hurts and so much pressure off
They're
of
also
like the big throws or the big third downs because you can trust Saquon Barkley to pick it up. Like, you can trust Saquon Barkley on 3rd and 7 to run up the middle and get 6 yards, and then you just do a tush push.
and they never played from behind. That's the other thing. Like the
Hmm.
defense was so good, they never no team jumped on them 14-0 ever.
Yep.
So yeah,
All right.
it's a tough one. He
It,
like we have him high,
yes.
and it's almost like you have to defend him not being higher.
Yeah, I agree. The Ethan said that Joe Burrow's defense was the best part of the Super Bowl roster. They were the 17th NFL, the defense points allowed per game. So that's just Ravens hate. Um, it was clearly Jamar Chase and T. Higgins who
What's
were the
the
best part
argument
of the roster.
there?
I don't know what the
He's
argument
he's
is.
saying the defense carried them to the Super Bowl when they were the 17th best in the NFL.
He said that Joe Burrow's defense was the best part of the Super Bowl roster. So while we were talking about Jalen Hurts, I looked up the 2021 passing defense, and they were the 17th um, defense. They went 10-7, and then made it to the Super Bowl. So I think that's a little biased there by Ethan as a Ravens fan.
Their defense played well during that run.
Yeah, of course they had to. Of course they had
It's
to.
not.
But it wasn't Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Anyways, let's go to the next tier. We gotta move on.
Yeah, I've got Stafford next in his own tier. If you want me to,
Yeah, knock that
just,
out.
uh, you alluded to it earlier, but 5 weeks ago is Matthew Stafford. We don't know if it's him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Stafford. And I think that might be the way to go with Stafford is move him down to his own tier. But man, is he going to be healthy for the start of the season? He's on a glass table. He just got back to practice, I think Monday, and it's a scary situation if you're a Rams fan because with Stafford, they can win 5, or with Stafford they can win 14 games. Without Stafford, they can win 5 games, maybe less. So, but I think that much of a variance, even just saying that as a hypothetical, is the reason why Stafford is where he is.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I just have with a good team, I can see you winning a lot of games, and that is Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, and Brock Purdy. Baker Mayfield, a graduate of the ass category.
I don't think anyone's had as much of a glow up as him in the last
Oh yeah,
year. Okay, that's interesting the way that you rank these guys because I have 3 of those guys in my next tier.
okay,
But this tier have these are the guys that I feel good about long term. So I have Mayfield, and then I have Stroud, Herbert, Jordan Love, and Bo Nix.
okay.
And those are my guys that right now I would feel confident if you say, like, for the next 10 years, this is my quarterback. I feel pretty good about that.
I
Not
like that.
great, I feel good about it.
Yeah, I like that. That's similar to my next tier. The the guys that I think I put here, I did because when the offense is clicking around them, when Dak has the weapons, Jared Goff has the weapons, Baker has the weapons, and Brock Purdy used to have the weapons. We'll get to see what he looks like with a deteriorated weapons this year. But all of those guys have won a lot of football games and have thrown for a lot of yards. And Baker Mayfield, what is tricky about Baker Mayfield is that up until last year, never had 4,500 passing yards, never had 40 touchdowns. And he got 41 touchdowns this year and exactly 4,500 passing yards. It does concern me a little bit that that is the one season that we've seen it in. And they just lost their offensive coordinator directly afterwards. But I do believe in the weapons around him. I do believe in his abilities to get them the ball. And I do believe in his gunslinger mentality, in his, I don't know, in his game. I believe in his game. So I do think that he's a good quarterback, and with a good team around him, I think that they could compete for a Super Bowl this year. I think their roster's really well. Um, and I don't think he's gonna get. And the guys that I have next tier, you'll kind of see why I put them in those tiers. Um, but there's not. I don't know how much upside there is left in Baker Mayfield. It seems like we just saw his
Mhm.
peak. And of course, he could throw for 40 touchdowns, I think, again. But do I expect that to happen? No. I'd expect like 30-ish to 33 touchdowns, which is nothing to be ashamed about either.
Yeah, Baker's definitely one of the more interesting guys on this list because you're right. Like that last year was the peak of his career, and part of me does worry about the Liam Cohen thing. Like he was able to get the most out of Baker Mayfield, and now he's gone. I don't know who their offense coordinator is now, but regardless, that's a tough transition to make. But at the same time, Evans is still there. Godwin is still there when he's healthy. They just drafted Ibuka. They have Bucky Irving. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. So like the situation itself didn't get any worse. So I think I like to trust that and not trust that Baker's going to be as productive as he was last year. But I still feel like going into the season, I'm still confident in him to go win me 10, 11 football games, I think, especially with like they have a good enough defense where like we don't need to score 30 points every week. But there are going to be weeks where they do light teams up. Um, they will be an interesting team to talk about when we do the NFC South preview. Finally,
Yeah.
some interesting things in the division.
Yeah. I think that's
3
gonna
of the
be a
teams are interesting.
I think it's gonna be a good division, and I think they're gonna be a good team in that division. And they beat up on the Eagles the most during the regular
Yeah,
season,
the Eagles first.
and so it'll be they're definitely an interesting team, and I guess we will save them for the NFC and AFC South previews. Do we need to talk about Dak and golf?
So golf, we talked about a little bit already on our NFC North preview. Check that out. I think we're both of the same mindset that we're a little bit nervous about the system being, for him just thriving so much in that Ben Johnson system, right?
Yeah,
But I think it's kind of that same Baker argument where it's like, okay, the offense coordinator is gone, but at the same time, like they have 4 of the best players at their position at tight end, receiver, and running back. So I still think that the system is the talented offense, but like I think you had made the point last week where it was like, okay, well, we've seen Jared Goff on non Sean McVay in a non Sean McVay offense with worse weapons, or like a non Ben Johnson offense with worse weapons, and it's not pretty.
yeah,
Um, so I like Golf. I have him in my next tier. And I guess since we have some overlap, I'll just give the name
yeah,
of this
yeah.
tier. But these are the guys that I feel good about in the short term.
Okay.
So Jared Goff, like going into this year as a Lions fan, I would not be concerned whatsoever about Jared Goff. Like, do I think that there's room for regression? Definitely. They're probably not going to put up the points that they did last year. Um, but I'm not like I still feel like I have a chance to win the Super Bowl with Jared Goff as my quarterback. 3 years down the line, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know how things are going to change. Like he's not the type of guy where I'm saying, okay, I want Jared Goff as my quarterback for the next 10 seasons. Like I don't want anything to change. I don't feel that way about him, and I don't feel that way about any of these guys in this next tier. And Purdy is one of them, and Dak is one of them.
Okay.
I think Dak. I guess. Do you want me to hit on those 2 guys, or did you have anything on
No, let's
Goff?
do it.
Okay, so
I think we just
Dak,
kind of flipped our tiers, to be honest.
we did, yeah. That's why I said it's interesting that you had Dak and Purdy and Goff in that tier. The only difference that we had was Baker, but Dak, I know exactly what he is. I think that's what separates him from some of the other guys in here. And I know that he's a quarterback that, like, when the Cowboys are humming, he could finish top 5 in MVP voting because he's going to put up numbers. I also know that I don't trust him in the playoffs,
Hmm.
and I know that a lot of those stats are coming from them beating the Saints 45-0. Um, so I think eventually with Dak, like, they're just going to get sick of him.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's in this category of I feel good about him in the short term. But like, if we're still doing this Dak Prescott thing in 3 years and like we're still having the same conversation, like I don't feel good about that personally.
Yeah. People are gonna get sick of it.
I will be exhausted by that.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't care. Like, I don't want the Cowboys to succeed. So if we're having the same conversation 3 years to the date, then that's perfectly fine with me. Um, and I feel good at like, again, what are the Cowboys going to do?
Mhm.
You're not gonna you can't really upgrade over him right now. And you just gave him a big contract. So like you're kind of set with him and it's what can we do with him before eventually we just have to like it's best for both sides to move on.
Yeah.
I think Dak's a good play.
I like that.
It's a shame that he doesn't honestly it is a shame that he doesn't get the flowers that he probably does deserve.
He's overhated. He's a cowboy, so he's overhated. Um, and I think you have the perfect stance on our 2 tiers because um you could flip the 2 names um of my tiers with your tiers, and then it'd be the same thing for how it's laid out.
What's your next one?
The next one is I should have just said I'm gonna like them better than I like them now in 5 years, but um I said strong pocket passer that I think is still very good. And so these guys no running involved with these guys. I have Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, and Trevor Lawrence still. I still
Okay.
like him. I
Yeah.
and I think if this was long-term quarterback, like how you laid it out, it'd be a better name for the category because I think all these guys are going to be maybe not, best of the bunch, but pretty elite quarterbacks in the future. I think that their team has put the belief behind them multiple times already, and the only one that would be scary would be Trevor Lawrence. If he has a bad season this year, where do we see him go? Um, does he
Mhm.
stay on the Jaguars? I mean, he had that massive extension. They named the goddamn stadium after him. And so they put a lot into Trevor Lawrence. They've given him the weapons. They now have gotten another coaching staff for him, and these guys just seem like they haven't won, but it's not like I don't think it's to their detriment. I think it's to we're just now that we saw Mahomes come in and win immediately, it's like kind of reset our brains of how quickly this happens. And
Mhm.
someone in the comments can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe any of these guys are even 27 yet. And those that like I just still I'm not gonna sell any stock on these players just
Yep.
yet.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Like quarterbacks do not always just come in and win right away. The best ones in history do,
Yeah.
but like you're not always shooting for like it's hard to find one of those guys,
Mhm.
and most franchises have not had one of those guys ever. Um, so yeah, I
And
think
some of
that's
them
a
have
good
had
point.
them and then not won, like Dan Marino.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't have Trevor in that category because I think I've seen a little bit too much of Trevor that I haven't liked so far. So I have him in a different tier, a little further below. Um, I think it's I think it's perfectly fair that Bo Nix is not in that tier because he is in mine. But it is funny how like the wording of your tier is just discriminatory, so that you could exclude Bo Nix from it.
Bo Nix is in it. I think Bo Nix is in the right place. I think Bo Nix is in the right
I
place.
didn't. I will say I wasn't. I don't love having Bo Nix with those four other guys. He does kind of stick out like a sore thumb. But there wasn't. Maybe I focused too much on the name of my tiers. Because like I would have Bo Nix below Goff, Dak, at least. But he didn't fit in my next lowest tier or the next lowest tier. So then and there's a tier of 5 that he's above. So for me, maybe he just needs his own tier. Maybe I can get to 12.
Mhm.
Just come up with my Bo Nix tier. Because like it I don't know. He's an interesting one for me. I know we were talking about Trevor.
No, that's okay.
Bo Nix was horrible at the start of last season
He was.
and got much better and took the Broncos to the playoffs. Although they also had the best defense in football in the regular season, at least. So I have, I think I am confident in Bo Nix being my quarterback over the next 5 seasons. I don't know what the ceiling is, but I feel good that he will remain my starting quarterback. And maybe that's a low bar to set, but when you look at this list, I don't know if it is.
I'd agree with what you said.
Maybe he honestly could be a short term guy.
He could be a what?
He could be a short term guy.
I mean, he is 25. He's 25 already.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, like Stroud, if you told me Stroud is signing a 10-year extension as a Texans fan, I would be happy. If you told me that Bo Nix is signing a 10-year extension, I would not have that reaction. I would have more of the reaction that I would have with Kyler Murray, where I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, we know how high we can get there, you know?
yeah, I I heard this stuck in my mind a little too much, especially because it's from Nick Wright, who just has a lot of. I mean, he also is a Chiefs fan that does not like the Broncos, and he has some crazy takes at times. Um, but he said Bo Nix played Sean Payton's system, had a lot of check down passes, and he had 29 touchdowns, which is great. Only 12 interceptions, which is also great. Ran for 400 yards. Um, and he said he made a Pro Bowl, and he's like, exactly like Mac Jones. He said Mac Jones that first year made a Pro Bowl. He didn't have 29 passing touchdowns, but he had more passing yards. Um, and he had one more passing yards per game by uh, by 1 yard. Um, so it that just stuck in my mind. Like maybe there's a way. Like
It's one
maybe
thing player A, player B,
yeah,
like blind comparisons where you just
yes,
go, "Ooh,
yep.
love that."
And it just what made me think of it is if team watches all this Bo Nix film this offseason, gets ready to play Bo Nix a little bit differently than they did last year, and a lot of the best plays of Bo Nix is exactly what I talked about with Daniels is a rollout, and then he passes to the tight end. And
Yeah.
I think I saw the Saints do that at least 12 times last year, every time they were on the primetime game. And if people figure that out and figure out that he's thrown to the flats, he's thrown to the running backs, he has a decent deep ball, but nothing I'd ride home about. And I do think but I do also, I don't have him in ass like I did last year. Um, I do think that there's a lot of upside with him for growing past that, learning the system better a second year. The Sean Payton offense has been, I mean, he's always had great offenses, like roster wise as well. But when he pieces it together, he's the head coach of there doing this, making the system. So I do think that there's a lot of potential for him. I think I didn't have him with those guys because I felt like those guys solidified it throughout
Mhm.
multiple years.
Yep, and I agree. I think I like that better, to be perfectly honest. I do think that you dislike Bo Nix more than I do, just from
Come around to it,
past
but yes,
experience.
I've come around to
Um,
it.
but I don't love where I have him. I think he fits better. Well, I don't know exactly what tier you have him in, but I think he's kind of a tweener here, where you're right. The body of work isn't there with him. I don't feel great about him yet.
I do want to shout out CJ Stroud that he had a very similar season to his rookie campaign, and
Mhm.
his offensive line was in shambles. His wide receivers dropped like flies. And if they find ways to improve that and find ways to, you know, Nico Collins is playing the whole season, they will have a much better looking offense than they did last year, even though it was the similar stats to, I think it was the same season pretty much from the 2 years that he's been playing. And I think we see them like they played really well in that first playoff game against the Chiefs and really could have won against the Chiefs. And so I do think that he has a lot of upside. Um, he's a strong quarterback that has a good deep ball, and I think that he'll win a lot of games eventually. All right.
Yeah, the
Oh, keep
pause
going.
that I have about Stroud is not his fault. It's the Texans. Like you said, that the offensive line and the receivers were issues. Well, the line got worse,
Yep.
and they replaced Diggs and Tank Dell with two rookies and Christian Kirk,
Yep.
which might be better,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
but it might not. So,
All right. My next
but
tier,
yeah,
I think I'm ahead of you.
I think
Is
you
that
are. Well, there were a couple guys that I didn't finish out.
okay? Let's do that.
Okay, so my short-term category, I had Goff, Dak, Purdy. I also had Kyler, Geno Smith, and Tua.
Okay.
Where do you go next?
Um, Kyler and Tua are in a tier, and Gino is in a tier under that.
Oh no.
But next I had, and I think they're both in respective tiers. Um,
Okay.
and this does get like what I did my tiers based off of is like, would I trade this guy for that guy? And I think I should switch the Goff, Dak, Purdy, Baker one with the Herbert, Stroud, Love, Trevor one, because
Mhm.
I would trade those guys for that guy. Um,
Mhm.
and this is the next one I had has Bo Nix in it, so I'll just rip that out. It's the young and feisty
Okay.
tier, and of course I had Drake May, leader of that pack. Bias there, I'll give you that. He only won one NFL game so far, but I loved what I saw. And then I have Bo Nix, I have Michael Penix, I have Caleb Williams, and I actually have Bryce Young in there as well.
Okay, so this is the fork in the road. This is where we took two different paths.
Yep.
You put Penix above Tyler and Tua?
Yes.
He's played 2 games or 3 games.
I don't think they would trade for him.
I don't know if they would either, but I'm not
You understand the
ready to
tier.
see.
You'll understand the tier that they're in.
Okay, what's your Kyler and Tua tier then?
Okay. It is just called I wouldn't want them on my team. And it's not it's like I didn't know what to do with they're good quarterbacks, but I would not like if I had to root for them, I would be in agony for 17 games. That's really where I rank them. And it's Kyler,
Okay,
Tua, and wait, there's one more. It's Sam Darnold. He's in the category.
yeah, Darnold I have pretty low. I kind of like Kyler.
Oh, you're
And I
sneaky
feel like
back
I
in.
do this every year. And I think I did the same exact thing last year.
Well, here's the
But I
thing.
convinced myself the other day that at some point he's going to finish top 5 in MVP voting.
There's
I think there's going to be one season where everything clicks.
here's the positives for Kyler. He tore his ACL in December of 2022. So now he basically had to rehab until he played the start of last year, and that's the year after the injury. And now it's going to be the year after the year after the injury.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot. He's quoted out that he said that this is the best he's ever felt, which of course everyone says they're the best they've ever felt. But when you tear your ACL like that, that matters for a scrambling quarterback who we liked out of college because of his running ability. And I do think that helps a lot going into this season. I just wouldn't want to have him on my team. There was a moment in the
He's
offseason when they were thinking about trading him that I was like, before Drake May came, I think it was 2 off seasons ago, and I was like, we could rock with Kyler Murray.
yeah,
Like,
you totally sold yourself on.
yeah, it's easy to sell on him. When he looks good, he looks great.
And I
But
think
then when he
that's
looks,
why I get sucked in. And I will say I looked at his numbers the other day and they're not good. And he's been in the league for a good while now. His numbers are not impressive. But it has been like it I don't want to make excuses for him, but it definitely has been some bumps in the road. Like situation hasn't always been the best. They've gone through a couple coaching changes and like the offensive line has been bad. Now he has Marvin Harrison, year 2. He has Trey McBride, who he loves. He's got a good backfield, I think. Did that defense get any better? They signed Josh Sweat.
they drafted
They
Will
draft.
Johnson, who's going to be nice. The guy out of Michigan, the
That
cornerback.
is
I'll do it.
because they traded.
We haven't done the West yet, so let me look at the Cardinals depth chart real quick.
That's okay. We can save it for that. I'm just thinking at some point, I do feel like something's going to click with him. And that's why I said short term, because I don't think it's more than a year. I think they have one really good year.
And it
I
has
think
to be
he's
soon.
got that in him. It's got to be soon. Yeah. But then I think they commit to him for longer than they should. And it just kind of, he gets hurt again or, you know, it's just a one-hit wonder season.
So looking at his
I'm like,
stats, it made
hey,
his
you
injury a
consider
little
it
more
any less than
clear.
5 hasn't happened, so
It was it's strange. His injury was in a weird spot, which I think affected him last year, where it was at the end of 2022, and then he didn't come back in 2023 until he only played 8 games in 2023. So remember they started
right.
with the Pastronaut,
Jobs.
yeah, um, and or they traded for the Pastronaut. I don't remember who they started with,
They started with him.
and then they flipped to
And
Minnesota
they
when
traded him to the Vikings.
okay. And then so then he had his first full season post injury was last year, and now he's the year after the injury.
So we're not giving him credit for being injured last year, are we?
I think we're giving him some leeway coming into this year.
Okay.
But his stat, yes,
He
his
gets
stats, his
one
stats
more
look great.
offensive coordinator. How about that?
Yeah, I think that works.
If this doesn't, I don't even know who their offensive coordinator is this year.
It's a good question. I have no idea.
But like, let's get Marvin Harrison the ball.
Mm-hmm.
To run it as much as Drew Petzing, previously the quarterbacks coach of the Browns. Ugh.
It's not a good sign.
All right, get this guy out of here. Give me someone who's sniffed McVay's jockstrap, and he's got a little more shot.
I do think that he's one of those guys that has the talent to be very good. Um, and then stories come out about him, and he's just always collapses in November, October. The Call of Duty shit was weird. Yeah, I think
Yep,
that's like a stamp on everyone, at least on my mind every year. It's like,
it's just bad PR. Is what it
yes,
is.
yes, you couldn't have had that come out. Um,
Yeah.
so I think there's room for improvement, as you said, and I think that he could put it all together. He could have a good offense, but I think he belongs next to Tua, or it's similar situations.
Yeah, it was a good quarterback. I feel like I know what I'm getting out of Tua more than Kyler.
Yes, I'd agree.
Although they are very similar. Tua, I just know is not going to win me games in January. It's not going to happen.
You just need everything right with Tua, which is the issue.
Yeah. But at some point, like if you don't win the division, you're going to have to go on the road to somewhere.
Yep.
Whether that's Buffalo, Kansas City. I guess Houston would be fine, but like they're not going to win. There's no way they win a road playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why like I'm fine with him for the next season or two. But then we got to reset.
Agreed. Um, the young guys, do we want to touch on, or just give them some breathing room?
Okay, so you had May,
I had May,
Penix.
Bo, Penix, Caleb, Brace.
Okay, Caleb. Okay. So I will jump to my next tier, which is you have a better coach, so let's see something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I have Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams.
Okay.
And I think that's the only similarity that they have because Trevor's been in the league for a little while and Caleb's been in the league for a year. But I think it's similar levels of pressure this year where it's like, all right, like the Jags brought in Liam Cohen, the Bears brought in Ben Johnson. Like these guys have
Boy geniuses.
turned Baker Mayfield into and Jared Goff into some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. If you don't succeed under them, then kind of wrapped, right? And like Caleb's a little bit different where it doesn't have to be this year. Like they don't have to win a lot of games. We just need to see signs of improvement. For Trevor's a little bit different. Like he's got to show me something this year.
Mm-hmm.
But like these are guys that I'm confident enough in just the talent level. They're both number one picks, which I also could have added to the tier list. Both like generational prospects, that just haven't panned out. And obviously, again, Caleb, it's been 1 year. But when you are the number one pick, there is that kind of pressure. So I think Caleb could be like, if Caleb shows me something, then he immediately moves up a tier, even if he doesn't like He doesn't have to have a season like Jaden had last year, or like a Baker revival season or something like that. He doesn't have to be that good, but it's got to be better.
Yeah.
He's got to show me that he could get to that level.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like that tier.
Okay. We had
Yeah.
May. You want to talk about May now?
Who'd you have him with? Just alone?
Okay, so I had one tier ahead of my young guys, which is the 2014 NFC title game.
Okay.
And it's Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers.
Nice.
And I don't know if they should be ahead of these young guys. I think just because like I know a little bit more of what I'm getting. My young guys, I just named it I'm Intrigued. And that's where Drake May is. That's where Penix and Bryce Young are. And then I also threw in JJ and Cam Ward.
Okay.
Because like that is a combined Bryce Young aside, that's what, like 12 NFL games played.
Just about.
And then Bryce Young, more experience, but I still don't really know what I'm getting.
Yeah. Yeah, Bryce Young's a tricky one. I had him with the young and feisty just because I do think that he's had, he's had a couple coaches too. He now has Dave Canales, who was the original offensive coordinator that revived Baker. So I do think that, the end of his season last year, I feel like we've talked about it on countless of pods, is just a bright spot for the for the rest of his career and hopefully this year as well. But I think that the young and feisty makes it seem like he doesn't have enough pressure on him with this one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I would consider changing that down, but he does because if he has a bad year this year, he's done. He's not going to be the starting for
Yeah.
the Panthers. And I do believe in his talent. I do know he's very small. Um, but he won a Heisman for a reason. At a very good program, on a very good roster. Um, but he had to put players in that position to win himself a Heisman. So I like I like the Bryce Young upside. There is a lot more pressure than where I tiered him at.
Agreed. Yeah. I think I've said it a couple times that I'm just not the biggest on Bryce Young. And I hope he proves me wrong. And because that's like entirely a gut feel thing.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's because he's small or just because I feel like the overall body of work is poor.
Yes, it
Like
is.
there was a strip last year that was good. But like I don't know, maybe something really did click under Canales when he came back in last year. But yes, there is definitely a pressure difference between Bryce Young and the rest of those guys. Because we're in I guess it's still only year 3 of him.
It's-
Feels like he's been around longer. But yeah, it is only year 3. So I think it's fair
But
to have
another
him in
another
here.
number one pick that we were
Yeah.
talking about a couple years before he made it. He was one of those guys in Madden that was an automatic number
Mhm.
one pick in that draft. And I always bring up Madden. Not like it matters in the real NFL world, but the way that people view it and the upside that he had coming into the NFL when all these guys are unknown, when it's the offseason, um, that type of stuff, that's what creates the pressure. That's what the Panthers traded up so much to get him. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why this pressure's behind him and why it should be behind him more than what I had it as. Um, I guess we can talk about Drake. I don't think there's too much to talk about. We did a Patriots and Commanders preview, so check that out as well. I do think that he has a new coach. I think he should show us something this year. I think that when he played, great he had great attributes. He had some weird mistakes at times, which could scare me. But I think Vrabel's the type of coach to knock that shit out of him. I mean, Vrabel was the coach that made Ryan Tannehill the Pro Bowler and at the AFC Championship. So I think they're doing the right things with the offensive line. A lot of his mistakes last year you could throw to poor wide receiving core. to poor offensive line, and I think those things are very much improved. And I think that we should see a step up from him this year. Um, and I do hope to see 20 plus touchdowns. I hope to see close to 4,000 yards. 4,000 is actually still a lot for 17 games, but 3,500. Um, and just some confidence, minimizing mistakes. And he's a dual threat guy that we've seen in the preseason so far. He ran in for 2 touchdowns in the 2 preseason games that he's played in, and I think that that type of ability from such a statured quarterback, like he's not like he's Tyler Murray, or Bryce Young. I think he's like 6'4", 6'6", comes from an athletic family, and those are the types of upsides that we took him at 3 at with, and that I expect to see come down the line.
Yeah, I mean, they're like just all the reasons in the world to feel confident about him going into this year. I think you pretty much captured it.
I have him in
Everything
almost
you
every
said.
fantasy league, so if that means anything, I have I have the confidence behind him.
Yeah, I mean, like, what? I guess what's the big knock on him? Like, what is other than he's young? Like, what's the thing that people are concerned about not
It's
translating?
gonna be some weird fumbles. It's gonna be some dumb interceptions. Um, and I think, or maybe like trying to extend the play too long because he can run. Um, and he took a couple sacks last year, which, again, his offensive line was terrible, so I don't really blame him for taking those sacks. But if there is
Mhm.
some, I hope to not see any Carson Wentz out of him, which would be
Ooh,
my concern. And that's a bad
yeah,
thing to say. And I'm not comparing. I don't think he is. I think he has a better arm. I think he's more athletic than Carson Wentz, but he has
yeah,
um, some of those weird boneheaded mistakes where you're like, what is he
fair.
doing? Um, that I hope not to see this year, and I think that would be the knock on him, um, if we're doing this again next year and he's lower.
I see.
I don't expect him to be lower though. I expect him to rise up. Um, you give me 4 good games and there's a DH gate order with 10 coming in. So
You don't have a
I-
jersey already?
no, I don't. I was hesitant because he's played 4 games, so um,
That's
I
fair.
did I
I
did
didn't
I
buy
did pause the
Daniels
brakes.
until Christmas, so
Yeah, yeah, I got to see something substantial, something that really, and if like all the preseason stuff, all the off-season stuff has been great about him. So I'm excited to see what he looks like going into next year. Um, should we hit on Darnold or is he much lower for you?
I have him even lower.
All right, we'll
I
wait
feel like
then.
we skipped some people. Yes, we talked Penix a bit. Actually, no, I think we covered everyone
Yeah, I think we could do a little
except
bit more on Penix. Um, I think that their offense looked much better last year, when Penix started those 3 games, and their offense before was with a statue of Kirk Cousins, so it only had to go up. Um, and I think they have a lot of belief in him. That's why they drafted him at 8. That's why and that was a surprise to everybody. Went before to Bo Nix, and I think that he has a lot of good weapons. I think that offense is going to be pretty solid, and I think he's made some good throws in his short time in the NFL that has confidence um, going to the future. I mean, that Commanders game, I went to overtime. He made some
yep.
some pretty good throws. So
Yeah, Penix kind of feels like his ceiling is Baker Mayfield with a better arm. That's kind of where I see Penix. Um, he's not afraid to take a big shot, and he has the arm to do it more so than Baker does. But you're gonna live and die by that, certainly. Um, the floor, I think, is more of like the Darnold, like early Darnold, and we just haven't seen enough of him. But I think he's in a good position. Like Drake London is a good wide receiver one. Um, obviously Bijan takes a lot of pressure off of him. I like Raheem Morris as their coach. So I think it's a pretty good situation for him. I think there are definitely going to be growing pains this season, and I think a lot of people are going to bury him and praise him week to week. So I don't know how much will change when we do this next year. Maybe it'll be like, show me who you really are. That's kind
Yeah,
of how I envision scaling for Falcons.
I'd agree, and I like that point where if you're a Falcons fan, I think a lot of Falcons fans are very much into Michael Penix, um,
Hmm.
but you can't you can't be worrisome what he looks like week to week. You have to see the
Yeah,
whole, and they have Kirk Cousins as a $50 million backup. He's going to be a year after the year after. Um, but I don't think I think if there's going to be if Kirk Cousins starts any of these games without a Michael Penix injury, it's a mistake by the coaching
yeah.
staff, and they need to
He
have
would have
time
to
with him.
be horrendous.
Yes, yes, he would have to be horrendous. But I do think that they're going to be a decent offense, and
Hmm.
that they're going to be they're going to be good. All right, you mentioned some of these guys, so I'll get to this tier, and you'll know what the tier is when I say the name, and it's Unk still got it. Um, we got Gino, Unk still got it. Rodgers, Unk might have it, and then Joe Flacco, starting quarterback for the Browns.
Flacco,
Um, maybe like maybe Flacco should be in the ass category, but um,
Flacco's ass.
the fact that he's starting, um, it's
It
made
is
me
insane.
it's made me put in the Unk still got it. I saw a crazy tweet. It was the season is 2008. Joe Flacco is starting against the Bengals
Against the
week 1.
Bengals.
And now it's 2025 and Joe Flacco is starting against the Bengals week 1.
I think the craziest thing about Flacco is that he was a backup for like multiple years
Yep.
and has now been an NFL starter for 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
Like, does that career arc exist where drafted by a team, take them on multiple playoff runs, win a Super Bowl, get replaced by a rookie, go back up in the NFL elsewhere for multiple seasons, and then become the starter, lead that team to the playoffs, and then start games 2 seasons in a row?
I don't think so. I don't think
Like
it's happened.
that could be that's way too specific of a career arc to have existed before. But yeah, I don't have high expectations for him.
No, and that's
As cool
that
as it
I
is
don't think
that
the
he was there.
Brown staff has high expectations for him. I think that he is going to be the starter because he he's he's a vet. He's an NFL vet that has done
Yeah,
it multiple times. Um, maybe he shouldn't be in the category of Geno. A lot of people like Geno. Um,
I like Gino.
I don't hate Geno. I just don't know how far can Geno take you in a season. How many games can Geno
That's
really
why I
win
have him
for
in
you?
my short term tier because I think where he's at with the Raiders right now is fine.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think the Raiders are making the playoffs, and if they were to make the playoffs, they're not winning the Super Bowl. And I
Yeah,
don't care
he's a
who else
culture setter.
this year, 3 years. They didn't even make the playoffs in Seattle,
I don't think they
which I
did.
feel like really feels like they did, and I don't think that they did.
No, I don't think they did either.
So yeah, he's a starting NFL quarterback.
Yes.
That's like the best that I can say about him.
Yep. Um, and I mean, Rodgers we talked a lot about in the AFC North preview. Um, he's gonna take him to 9-7, yeah, or 9-8.
He's a guy.
He's a guy, and that's kind of this tier where they're they're
There, there
they're
is that
veterans that
like
have done stuff.
10%. Right. There is that 10% of Rodgers where it's like, what if he just looks like? What if he's 95% of MVP Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, and I think that Geno and Rodgers, I don't think Joe can all go up tiers. Um, but these guys are kind of in the positions that they are because no other team really wanted them.
Correct.
So that's yeah, I think that's a solid tier. How many tiers left do you have? I have 3.
I only have 2.
Okay, I'll do these guys were named. Just unknowns, and it's JJ McCarthy and Cam Ward. Just unknowns.
Okay, that's fair.
Just put a
Yeah.
fat question mark next to him. I like Cam Ward a lot. I think that he will be good, but he's never played a snap in the NFL, so or at least NFL regular season.
Okay, you already said Darnold, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my category before ass is I've seen what I need to see.
Okay.
That's Sam Darnold and Justin Fields.
Okay.
And Darnold, like, I say that I've seen what I need to see because last year was the best version of Darnold that we'll ever see. And I'm comfortable stating that and moving on as he's not going to be that good going forward. And even if he is, then like they're not winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. Fields, he is what he's been the same quarterback. Like he's the same quarterback in Pittsburgh last year that he was in Chicago for the past 3 seasons, and now he's going to a worse team. So like, I don't need to see anything extra from Justin Fields that will convince me that he's something better than what he is.
Yeah.
It is a fine quarterback that can win some games.
Yep.
A mobile quarterback who can get the ball to his wide receiver one, but he's not an above average NFL quarterback. And I
Great.
don't think he ever will be. I like Justin Fields, but honestly, that's how I feel.
All right. My second to last category is kind of cheating. It's Spencer Rattler. And the category
Because I didn't want to put him in this because he's a
the
Gamecock.
category is Rattler.
Yeah.
He might be the starting quarterback for the Saints. He might be ass, but I got a signed towel right there from him, and I refuse to put him there.
That's
He
fair.
looked good in the preseason. Seems like he might win the starting job, and the Saints might be terrible, but
Yep.
starting NFL quarterback. So I will take that.
That's fair. I felt bad putting Flacco down there.
An ass.
Yeah. But it
It's
had to be
okay.
done.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he knows. I think he knows.
Okay, so you have I'm trying to think who you have remaining. You have Daniel Jones,
Yep.
you have Russell Wilson,
Yep.
you have I'm looking at my list. I feel like we hit all these guys. Who else do you have down there?
I got Fields.
Oh, Fields. Yeah, okay.
I think Fields is ass. And it's honestly like this. This is bad. This is bad because the preseason like shouldn't take a lot of things. But did you see that last preseason game? He went
No, I didn't see the last piece. What
he went
happened?
1 for 5 for 4 yards. It just looked like ass. Just looked terrible. Um, I think if see this is fantasy rankings. I think his fantasy ranking is much higher, like much higher. I think his running ability and the way that they're going to run the ball next year is going to be something like they're going to take football back. They're going to take football way back. They're going to have complete drives where they probably don't pass the football. And I can't believe that he got 20 million. I do think that he did productive things on the Steelers last year, but I also think he's ass. And I think that like you try to this not like you try to trade me Garrett Wilson. For a lot of other people, I feel like that's a good trade for what we had laid out. Um, I don't want anything to do with Garrett Wilson. I think that he might get hospital balled like 4 times a game, and if they can connect a couple times, I think that they can make some plays. But I don't see Fields um starting in the NFL for much longer, and he might be one of those upside guys because of the athletic ability. Um, and I sent you that picture today of their and you said you thought it was Braylon
He's a running
Allen,
back.
and he's literally he's not even holding the ball like a quarterback in their preseason pictures, and that's just because he's a run first quarterback in a passing league.
Yep. Which is weird because I felt like at Ohio State he could really sling it.
Yeah, Yeah, but he
I
also
feel like
had
the arm's there. It can't use it.
no, and maybe he proves me wrong. I mean, as we've seen some graduates of the ass category, and Bo Nix and Baker here on my list.
Yep, that's true.
And Bo Nix
That
was
is somebody will graduate from this
yes.
category.
And I have the most confidence out of him out of the other 3 guys I have in here because I also have Tyler Show, just a
I have
Rattler
Show.
propaganda.
Yeah, so I had before we talk about Russ, because I think that'll be the cherry on top of this episode. But I had Flacco, and then I had both Colts guys, because I made it before the news came out, and then I had both Saints guys. And Rattler. I
I don't
don't know
blame you.
anything about him, but he's an ass. If you're the quarterback of the Saints, you're ass. That's
agree.
that's the rule. Okay, I'm gonna defend Russ a little bit. I think Russ was decent last year. Like there was a point last season where I thought the Steelers could go on a legit run with Russell Wilson. I think the problem with him is it goes so quickly.
Yes.
Like he shows you something one week and then it's like very quickly you realize it's just not going to work for a full season. I think there's enough left in the tank there to warrant him not being an ass. I also saw some interesting stats when we were doing the Giants preview that he does really well in 3 wide receiver sets, and Dable runs a lot of those.
Okay.
So maybe that bodes well for him. The big issue though is that his numbers in a clean pocket are like he's a top 10 quarterback, and his numbers not in a clean pocket are he's a bottom 5 quarterback, and it's not gonna be a lot of clean pockets this year.
That's the thing is he's no longer the playmaker that he was when he was younger.
No.
And he really needs everything to be set up perfectly. I don't know if you saw any of the stats, but I knew even in his prime, like he didn't really throw across the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that didn't come to him later in his career. I didn't see the numbers of last
No,
year. Maybe he
there
had
was another stat from Warren Sharp about how like his numbers throwing outside the numbers are really good.
Yep. And you have Malik Neighbors for that. Um,
Yep.
but that's kind of about it. And as you said with the clean pocket, that's not going to be it's not going to be clear for a long time. And for a clean pocket for a long time. I don't know. I think what you said is, I mean, maybe he could be in the unk, still got it. I think we could move him up a little bit from my ass category. No one is
He might
going. So go ahead.
said he might be ass.
That's the thing. He's like
Not
there's a scenario where he's like they're talking about Jameis in a couple weeks, or they're talking about Jackson Dart in a couple weeks, and
oh yeah.
I think that going into their schedule, there's going to be games where he is going to be pummeled and look awful. And we were going into this last year when he was on the Steelers, and his stats for the Broncos like weren't terrible, even though he was the scapegoat. 98% passer rating, 26 touchdowns, only 8 picks, and 3,000 yards. But then there's the season before where he had 16 touchdowns and 11 picks, and there's more of a reality where he ends with under 20 touchdowns than he does, I think, even close to
Yeah,
25 touchdowns.
you're right.
And there could be a scenario where he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and that would be a good thing for the Giants. But I also don't think he pushes the field the way that's going to win you any games, or the way that is going to be frightful to anyone that's facing him. Like that's the other thing is I don't think anyone is scared of Russell Wilson going into the week. Like we don't have to make a game plan around him. We don't have to worry about this or that. Um, I just think that he should be pretty easily compromised. Um, and that's why I have him in the gas category.
Fair enough.
I don't think we need to talk about Daniel Jones. I don't think we need
Yep,
to talk
we
about
talked.
Tyler Show. Yeah, we did talk about Daniel Jones. Yeah, I put a little heart next to Rattler in my category, so bias. I'm biased. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't put him in ass. But that that does it for our tiers, right? We hit everybody.
Yeah, I got all my guys.
All right, we had one last question. It was asked because I mentioned that Jaden Daniels is one of the most likable quarterbacks in the NFL. And the question was, who is our least likable quarterback in the NFL? And I thought that was a good question. Say again?
Got to be Aaron Rodgers, right?
I think it's got to be. I think Rodgers is up there. I think there's a category like it could be its own category of unlikable guys. I think Rodgers is up there. I think the way that the cringiness of Russell Wilson can be up there. Um, Clearly not the way that we ranked him. And least likable is different than being good or bad. Um, but I think Dak Prescott's up there for a lot of people. And I think Caleb Williams is starting to be up there for a lot of people, which I think is unfair. Um, how likable is Kyler Murray?
Is who?
Kyler Murray, how likable is he?
He's not very likable.
I don't, and it's the contract shit, man. This contract thing, that all that stuff coming out was extremely unlikable, I think. Um, but I think you're right. I think you nailed it on the head with Rodgers. Um, like people just want him to just leave, man, just get out of here. And he does
In
like
an
he
NFL
and
locker room, Russ might be up there.
say again.
I think in the NFL locker room, Russ wears pretty quickly.
Yes, yes, and I think he's a great like preseason guy, getting the rookies hype, getting
Yeah.
the guys hype, and then it's like week 8, and it's like, guy, we don't need another speech out of
The
Russ.
video of him and Cam Hayward is really all that you need to see.
Yep.
The pregame, I forget which game, but they've lost like 5 in a row. And Cam Hayward, like Russ is trying to hype him up, and Cam Hayward is like,
And I
doesn't
think
play well.
I think that's another. I think that's a different category, unlikable as well.
Yeah.
So I think those two guys would be the top tiers. I think next to Jaden Daniels, and not like looking at the super like. Of course, everyone's gonna like Mahomes, Lamar, and Allen, Joe Burrow, Stafford. Everyone likes.
Well,
Um,
people would say that Mahomes is the most unlikable, I would think.
from a fan perspective,
Certain
I think
people.
so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was just, yeah.
We're talking like
No, I think this is good. I think
playing
this is
wise.
good back. Yeah, I don't know. This is. I did think. I mean, like locker room wise, of course, everyone's gonna back Mahomes and die for Mahomes. Um,
Yeah.
Unlikability for fans. I do think people hate on Mahomes, just because um, you know, he just keeps winning. Um, I do think. I wonder. Um, I wonder how people think of Joe Flacco. Like, what are the Browns thinking when they see that Joe Flacco is? I don't think it's an unlikable thing either. I think, like, I just wonder what the locker room is like when they hear that he's a starter. Like, are they excited about it? Are they ready to die for your quarterback there, or are they all looking at Shedeur Sanders? Um,
I don't think you have a choice at the start of the season, at least.
yeah, of course.
See how things go after a couple weeks.
Um, but that does cure that when we're talking about locker room likability. I wonder how that reaction was um, to Joe
I
Flacco
mean, I would
starting.
think it's expected, just like who had the best camp. It had to have been Joe Flacco out of those guys.
Yeah, and when I think it was pretty much expected when they signed him, so I don't think this came to a surprise of anybody.
No.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of likable starting quarterbacks, and of course, it depends on your favorite team. It depends on, um, who's winning
I
the
think
most at
especially
this
the
time.
unlikable guys depends on who you root
Yeah, I'd agree. Um, all right. Ethan said rank the backups. No.
for.
Um,
That would be fun. Maybe next year we'll do that in the middle of July. We can rank the backup quarterbacks.
yeah,
But our
we have.
time is getting pretty precious now.
Oh yeah. And I think
Gotta get everything in before the season starts.
we need to do, if we're doing the backups, there's a 30-minute cap. I'm not talking over 30 minutes about backups. Like, we just gotta just run through it. No squabbles about anything. Just, I mean, like, when we get
You
to
don't
some
wanna
of,
debate like Taylor Heineke and Marcus Mariota, Tanner
and like,
McKee.
I think I know most of the backup quarterbacks, like, off the dome, but
Who's the Jets backup?
Tyrod Taylor.
Okay. What about the Dolphins? Is it still Skylar Thompson?
No, it's Zach Wilson now, and then Quinn Ewers.
That's right.
Yeah, Zach Wilson wears 0. That's that might be bottom of the rankings. You can't be a bust and wear 0 now that you're a backup. That's bad.
Yeah, that's tough.
Um, really, I mean, Panthers backup is Andy Dalton. I really kind of do know all the backups, which is
You do,
scary.
yeah.
It's scary how cursed with knowledge we
Cowboys
are.
backup. It's
It's
not
Joe.
good, is it?
I think it's Joe Milton, isn't it?
It is Jim Milton, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Bucks, Kyle Trask. Um,
Bears?
the redheaded guy that played Division 2, Badgett.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot about Tyson.
Tyson Badgett. Um, who is the Titans backup? I think they just swapped backups. Because it was Will Levis, but he's on the IR. That's the
Right
one I'm
off the
stumped on.
dome.
Off the dome, I'm gonna look up the Titans backup, and then we're gonna go because this is pointless. Um, it's Brandon Allen and Trevor Siemian. Oof.
Nice.
Yeah. Glad we know that. I'm glad. All right, that's a good way to end this. I'm glad we know that now. Thank you all for listening. I hope you had as much fun with the QB tiers as we did. We'll try to. I wrote mine down, so I'll remake mine in the tiers thing so we can post it tomorrow. And should get some good AI clips from this. So stay tuned for those. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see everyone later.